I think they're a threat. When you play against Houston, they have such a different style. I mean, they shot 51 threes last night. A lot of teams are not going to do that. They don't share the basketball. They're ball dominant by one person. Milwaukee's played them really, really well. They've got two guards that can stay in front of James Harden, Eric Bledsoe, and George Hill. And then you got two bigs that kind of challenge, James Harden at the rim with Giannis, and obviously Brook Lopez. They both challenge James Harden at the rim. So it's a different style. I don't want to take anything away from the win. They beat a great team in Houston. Houston's playing great basketball right now. It's always good to get these type of wins to know where you're at, just in case you do get in the finals. You got some film, kind of can see some matchups, but I don't take much from them because Golden State's a different animal when it comes to matchups where Milwaukee will have to face.
So it's not shocking to me that the Rockets shot 50-plus threes, not only because they're the Rockets, but Milwaukee, if people have been watching them all year, they allow more threes than any team in the league. And somehow they still have the #1 defense in basketball. It's because they basically say, even in this three-point shooting NBA, we're going to give up those threes, and you're going to get nothing on the inside. We've got two legit 7-footers. Giannis, 6'11", but with a 7'6" wingspan. They have Giannis on the other team's worst offensive player, and they let him play free safety. And that's why, to me, they are interesting against the Warriors.
Yeah, to me, too. Look at what the Warriors faced the last 4 years. Now, I know they had a lot of injuries with LeBron, and they did have LeBron. But if we were being honest, based on how the season has went, how they've played, their coaching changes, how they're playing defense, we could say this is probably the biggest threat to the Warriors outside of Houston when Chris Paul got hurt.
Oh, you mean that? So who the Warriors faced in the finals over the last 4 years?
Well, that's what we talked about.
Right, no, of course, especially when you consider what type of profile the Cavs had defensively and what this Bucks team has defensively. Because the point I was making about Giannis is Giannis will be guarding Draymond. And you might say, wait, why wouldn't he guard Kevin Durant? No. They will have him guard Draymond, which means he won't guard Draymond, and he will just patrol the baseline waiting for someone to create penetration. So they'll be able to stay up on three-point shooters, and if Steph or KD gets by someone, Giannis will come flying at him. If there wasn't such a belief, Twan, that the Warriors had another gear to get to, that they are just basically hovering in third, occasionally getting to fourth, but haven't touched fifth gear yet all year, then I think people would say, of course the Bucks can beat them. #2 offense, #1 defense, maybe the best player in the league, a very good coach, a deep team. They check all the boxes.
I think it's 3 teams in the East that can give them a chance, and I think the Bucks is the third team.
Oh,
I still like Toronto. I still like Philly. If you get into a 7-game series, I think you got to think about one with Toronto. With the addition of obviously Marc Gasol to their team, makes now he can pick and pop with Boogie Cousins. He can guard Boogie by himself. He don't have to double. That's an added piece of that. You got to think about it too as well. They added Jeremy Lin, another guard that makes Steph Curry have to work. Jeremy Lin's not that bad. Now you got 3 guards that you can throw at Steph. They got more personnel, and then obviously you look at Philly. Philly's starting 5 could be obviously I believe they're the best in the league, and they pose difference. That's when Jimmy Butler comes into play and Tobias Harris. When you get into a series, it becomes different. They didn't have nobody that can guard Joel Embiid. He gives Cousins fits.
You think Philly's starting 5 is better than the Warriors starting 5?
That's tough. No. I'm not going to disrespect.
So best starting 5 in the East is what you're saying.
Yes.
I got you.
But I just think those 3 teams all give Golden State, compared to what we saw in the past, the last 4 years, obviously LeBron got 1, and they got dominated the last 2 years. Those 3 teams can give a better finals run.
What doesn't this Milwaukee team have besides experience that you don't fully trust can go up against the Warriors?
I think it's experience. I think when you get in the playoffs, you get in a 7-game series. I think it becomes tough. I'm not completely sold on Chris Middleton. I know he made the All-Star team. I'm not really sold. I got a question mark on Eric Bledsoe. We got to see him in these big stages. He's had a great season.
He's playing the best basketball of his career.
He is, but we haven't seen him in this stage. You're talking about when you get to that, obviously, when you get to the Eastern Conference Finals, you're going to end up playing either the Toronto Raptors or the Philadelphia 76ers. And I like their experience and their depth a little bit better than I like Milwaukee's.
Tell me if I'm wrong here. You also, I think we've talked about this before, have questions about how effective, even as dominant as Giannis has been this year, in a playoff series where you're scouting this team and this team only, where you play them every couple of days, and Giannis does still have, he's been able to overcome it as far as being wildly effective this year. one enormous limitation to his game, which is he cannot shoot threes. He's at like 23% on the year from three-point range. Some concern about how he will be guarded in a postseason series and how effective he will be late in postseason games. Is that one of your concerns?
Yeah, I just think people don't understand when the playoffs come, it gets a little tougher, a little harder. We see a lot of dunks, a lot of individual one-on-one plays that Giannis makes. It won't be as easy come playoff time.
No, it won't be as easy, but I think because Giannis hit this growth spurt, but Giannis grew up as a point guard. So now you got a guy 6'11", 7 foot. He's got more unassisted dunks than anyone, I guess, the last 10 years in the NBA. So that works in the playoffs. I can go off the dribble because anytime I get beyond the three-point line, even if they lay off of me, because he's so gangly and because it's awkward and it's never been seen before. He's built like Kevin Durant, but Kevin Durant's not trying to go all the way to the hole the way we've seen Giannis. I've been shocked of how he's been able to improve his dribbling and how he has relied on that to be able to get not only to the rim, but I'm talking about finishing with a dunk, with the Shaq-type numbers.
And when you say built like Kevin Durant, the Kevin Durant body type, but with, I'd say, 25 extra pounds, 30 extra pounds of muscle, so he can deal with the contact at the rim.
Guys, if you have to tell me who you can trust on Milwaukee besides Giannis, I mean, you guys, other teams, we naming 2, 3 different players. Give me somebody else on Milwaukee that you can trust.
I don't know who I can trust on Toronto besides Kawhi. I don't know that I can trust. Like
Marcus Gasol has been there.
Okay, Marc Gasol's been there at a different time of his career.
Serge Ibaka's been to the finals. He knows how it fits. Kyle Lowry's been in tight playoff games against Cleveland the last 3 years.
The only thing I'm worried about with Milwaukee is Brogdon and their depth. If they don't get those guys back being 100%, but if they get both of those players back and healthy, they are the class of the East, and they're the best matchup in the Warriors. In this 5-year period, they're the best matchup going against the Warriors in a 7-game series.
Antoine, did last night's game change your opinion at all of who the MVP was going to be? After the game, Chris Paul said, hey, this game shouldn't determine who the MVP is. Both Giannis and Harden did not have, obviously, their best games. The race is still down to those two.
I don't base it off that. I think Giannis deserves the MVP. If we go into the history of the NBA and how they pick MVPs, they're going to win 60-plus games. He's been dominant all season long. He's played predominantly 90% of the games. Then you think about it, on the defensive end, he's probably the best defensive player in the league besides Kawhi Leonard. You got to add that to the equation as well. And he's checking all the boxes right now to be the MVP. And that's not taking anything away from James Harden. But the thing about James Harden,
for the MVP
you know, no, I'm not taking anything away from what he's done this season. I understand the scoring and how it's been amazing and how he's carried that team. But you got to reward Giannis when you think about 65 wins and they kind of pieced that team together. We've seen Harden do this before, not at the level of 36 a night, but we've seen him dominate like
And
this.
if Giannis and them didn't have all those plus 10-point wins, he'd be averaging 30 points a game because he's sitting a lot of times in the fourth quarter, too.
There's two ways to look at that. One is the Rockets, they haven't been blowing people out the way the Bucks have. They have needed every single one of Harden's points. But the other way to look at it is exactly what Chris said, which is the Bucks have 43 double-digit wins this year. 43 double-digit wins. So how much is Giannis' stats being impacted by we're up 16 with 5 minutes left, so he's not getting an extra 2 or 3 points per game?
All right. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.